This week's best MMA bets, we're talking UFC 305. I'm going to give you guys my lock of the week, most confident picks. We'll talk favorite underdogs, Degen Props, and then finish it out with the parlays. So make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure you share the video too. Last week, hit the lock. Sergey Spivak getting it done impressively. First round submission for him. That's 4 locks in a row. This week, we're going to look to make it 5. I'm feeling very excited about things coming up for UFC 305 this Saturday. And I think I got some good calls coming into you guys this week. And also killing it with the parlays as well. And I'm looking to keep the magic flowing. So without further ado, the lock of the week.
Steve Astro Boy Erceg.
Steve Erceg, lock of the week for UFC 305. You guys knew I had to stick with my flyweight savage. I'm a big believer in Steve Erceg. Now, I think Kai Kara-France is skilled, and I think he's got a lot of ability, but I feel like Steve Erceg is very special, and on top of his special talent and skills, he has good boxing and a size advantage over Kai Kara-France. I see him doing well in the stand-up with Kai, who, although is powerful, kind of needs you to walk into the big shots. If you look at Kai's super impressive knockout against Cody Garbrandt, the way Garbrandt came inside and brought pressure to him was a lot more reckless than something like a Steve Erceg will bring. And not only is Steve Erceg a skilled striker, he also has relatively good grappling. And I do think he could potentially put Kara-France in some tricky spots on the ground. Now, it's going to be a competitive fight. I don't think it's a first round knockout or a second round submission or a third round finish. I think it's a hard fight for Steve Erceg. He will be tested. But as he showed against Alexandre Pantoja, he's certainly in the conversation for being best flyweights in the world. And as good as Kai Kara-France is, he's not Steve Erceg. I think Steve Erceg is going to take home a competitive and hard-fought decision. I think he's getting it done. I like him to win. Now, as far as the odds for Erceg, he's minus 155 as the favorite. And you guys know with the lock section, I try to keep it relatively money lineable. Now, occasionally, I got to chalky locky it up, but I'm not going to throw a minus 350 down as a lock, even if I'm super confident. That is what the most confident pick section is for, the true confidence. Here, I am truly confident on Steve Erceg. Don't get it twisted. But you can also go down the center and touch the money line. Now, a flyweight fight like this, they're probably going over 2.5 rounds. We got an over 2.5 at minus 245. The official prediction will be Steve Erceg to get a hard-fought decision. That's plus 120. I like him to take it home. I think his striking matches up well with Kai Kara-France. Add on top of that a size advantage, and I believe he is the superior grappler / wrestler between the two. I think Steve Erceg's got a big win incoming against an always dangerous in game Kai Kara-France. But Team Erceg for the W. I'm repping with my guy, Best Buy's finest, the king of the geek squad, Steve Erceg, this week's lock for UFC 305. Let's jump to the most confident pick section. I'm going to bring them up on the screen and we'll talk about them. So, first one we'll talk about is Mateusz Gamrot, minus 330. And if you've watched my breakdown for this card, you know I am not a huge Gamrot fan. And as a fan, I would love to see Dan Hooker knee him in the face and flatten him. But I live in the real world, and the likelihood of something like that happening seems to be on the incredibly thin side. More than likely, Mateusz Gamrot is going to chain wrestle Dan Hooker for 3 rounds. Now, he's potentially going to get a submission. We've seen Hooker get bodied on the ground once before. Islam Makhachev, obviously, first-round Kimura win over him. Gamrot is a very good wrestler, not the same level of beast from top position as Islam Makhachev. Give Islam his credit. But I think Gamrot's going to have a lot of success chain wrestling. And the thing that I love about Gamrot in a fight like this, not as a fan, I'll reiterate, but as somebody looking to throw money down and put Gamrot in a parlay, I liked his resilience and consistent wrestling efforts. And the fact that he has a good gas tank, his chain wrestling works magnificent. It's not the most entertaining style, but it's an effective one. And when you're looking to parlay somebody up, you're looking to bet down high confidence, you go with somebody that's reliable as hell. I think the likelihood of a Dan Hooker knockout is very thin. And I think the likelihood of a Gamrot WrestleFuck, incredibly high. So Gamrot to win, minus 330 the favorite. Yes, it's not a great money line, but that's not what most confident picks is about. It's about honest confidence, and it's definitely high in Mateusz Gamrot. Now, how is he to get it done? I feel in my heart of hearts, Gamrot by a decision at minus 150, but that line sucks, and there is a possibility at plus 500, Gamrot could lock up a submission. So potential Degen bet is going to be a slight sprinkle on that Gamrot subline, but I think the money line is the A side, and especially a potential parlay piece for it is probably your best bet heading into this fight. Overs minus 260 for over 2.5. That's probably happening too. Mateusz Gamrot starting off the most confident pick section, right? Next one, Carlos Prates. I like Prates a lot. I think Prates is a special striker. Kickboxing base, has trained in Thailand. He's got a big length advantage over Leach, and he's just more primed. You listen, love Leach, fan favorite, badass style, good pressure boxing, hits hard. There's a lot of things to love. But in a matchup against Carlos Prates, he is completely outgunned, and he doesn't have the wrestling to threaten Prates anywhere besides the striking. The issue, too, with the Leech is it's not like, oh, he has power. Well, he throws a good jab. He follows it up with big overhands. No, that's not his game. It's a lot of wide shots. It's a hook-based boxing style, pressure hooks. And that doesn't work against a technician like Prates, who also has finishing ability. I'm going Prates to win. Now, as I said, big favorite line. He's a big favorite, like around minus 370, minus 360. But I think there is still value to be had, as I said with Gamrot, in a parlay. Leach has got a really good chin. Over 1.5 is minus 165. I do think Prates could get a stoppage here, but it's going to be very difficult, as durable as Leach has looked in the past. And I do feel as though over 1.5 rounds makes a lot of sense, but the supreme confidence is obviously Prates. Now, how is Prates to win? I am picking decision at plus 325, but as good as his Muay Thai is, body shots are a factor in this fight. He may very well get the knockout at minus 110. Personally, not a huge fan of the props. Maybe an over, but ultimately Prates in a parlay straight down the center is where the confidence is at, and I feel very good about him beating the Leech in the biggest opportunity of his fighting career, and I can't wait for it. He met up with Israel Adesanya earlier today, and actually I guess they used to train together. At least at one point, they trained together / fought on the same card. Adesanya didn't remember Prates, but they had some history. And it shows Prates in the striking game has been around for a long time. And on the feet, I'm telling you right now, Carlos Prates is a problem for majority of guys at 170, especially the Leech. Prates, absolutely a lock. Let's keep running. Next one. Jack Jenkins. Woo! The value is great. Minus 800. It's not a hot take on Jack Jenkins. Everybody's probably picking him, and you all should be, because Herbert Burns don't have the dog in him. When adversity comes his way, he shells away. He's not a true fighter. Now, you might be saying, what the fuck are you talking about? He's in the UFC. Hear me out for a second. Herbert Burns is only good when he is the bully. As soon as he meets resistance, his whole game falls apart. And that's not what fighting is about. Fighting is about fighting through adversity and then finding a way to win throughout all the darkness. He's not one of those guys. He can't do that. This is a lock of locks with Jack Jenkins, and the lock is inside of the distance too. At minus 350, inside of the distance is money. Now, you might be thinking, why don't you just call knockout? He most likely is knocking out Burns, for sure. But on the weird off chance that a gassed out Gilbert Burns submits to strikes, I would rather just go inside distance than end up losing a submission call just to chase a little bit of extra value. Minus 225 for the TKO win, or KO rather, for Jenkins, TKO, KO, either one, versus Jenkins inside of the distance, minus 350, and it saves me from a potential submission to strikes. Because remember, submission to strikes can be counted. Some refs do, some refs don't. Depends. It's ultimately up to the referee's discretion, but sometimes it goes off as a damn submission, man. We've seen it in the past, and it's a submission win. And then you lose on your knockout bet, even though he knocked him out. So give me inside distance, because there's a real possibility that Herbert Burns is tapping his strikes in this fight. Jack Jenkins is going to destroy him. Now, what's interesting is Herbert Burns is good in the first 3 minutes. He's got incredible jiu-jitsu. I think he's great at jiu-jitsu. I respect the fuck out of his jiu-jitsu. But I just don't think he's a fighter. He's not a good fighter, and he's not a true fighter. He's done fights, and he's won some big fights, but he can't deal with any adversity. If he survives the first round, Jenkins in the second round, plus 230, something just to mention. That's not even good value for something as degenerate as picking a round. I'd rather inside distance for Jenkins in a parlay, because I think there's a good chance that it's happening. Jack Jenkins for the W, for sure. Herbert Burns is going to retire from fighting. He's lost 3 in a row already. He's quit in multiple fights. We've seen him cower away from a tough matchup. He gets hit hard. He fumbles. He doesn't have that dog in him. He doesn't have the Gilbert Burns in him. He's Herbert. Don't get it twisted. Jack Jenkins is going to absolutely destroy him, and this is a complete and utter squash match. Let's jump to the next one. Most confident pick, high confident pick with shitty odds. Okay, so it is Tom Nolan, but I'll just hint it to you guys right now. I'm going to throw an honorable mention here because this line is so bad. I feel bad not mentioning one other fighter that could be a most confident pick. But I had to put the most confident picks. Even though I think Nolan has terrible head movement, even though I think Nolan is incredibly flawed defensively, Alex Reyes is not a full-time fighter. He's fought twice in like 6+ years. He's got 2 first-round knockout losses in a row. He's probably got no chance here. But I would never moneyline Tom Nolan. And I wouldn't even put the Tom Nolan line in a damn parlay. What I'm mentioning here is a high confidence call under 1.5 rounds at minus 260. Both guys tend to finish fights early or get finished early. And I think in this fight here, we're going under 1.5 rounds. It's guaranteed violence. So I'm going to go with Nolan to win. The under 1.5 on Nolan and Reyes. Come on, bro. Reyes is not a full-time fighter. Tom Nolan at the very least is. Yes, he's flawed. Yes, he's been dropped. Yes, he's looked bad, but he's still tremendously powerful, and he's a really dangerous striker with a massive size advantage on Alex Reyes, who is not even close to his fighting prime. But as I said, I'll promise you guys an honorable mention. Kenan Song. Kenan Song should knock out Rick Glenn. Kenan Song's around minus 170 as the favorite, and I got a really good feeling that he's going to take home a knockout win here. He looked relatively good against Kevin Jousset, even losing. He completely outstruck Rolando Bedoya. Granted, Bedoya's not that great. He just lost to Jai Herbert. Yeah, but Rick Glenn has been looking horrible. Rick Glenn's biggest win, Joaquim Silva knockout, flukish first-round KO in 27 seconds. He lost to Kevin Aguilar in the fight before that. He drawed with Grant Dawson after getting dominated for 2 rounds. But Grant Dawson is a grappling-based style. In the past 2, Rick Glenn has been knocked out. On the feet, Kenan Song's got the answer. Minus 170 range for Song to win down the center. And then a KO win for Song is plus 120. It had to be mentioned, so there is your honorable mention. Kenan Song, shout out to you. Those are the most confident picks. I want to jump now to my favorite underdogs on the card. If you guys haven't, make sure you smash the like button too. And listen, if you're new, subscribe. Okay, so I'll bring them both up on screen. We got DDP and Tuivasa, Shuivasa gang. I like both of them to win. I think both got a real live chance at taking it home. The value is better on Tuivasa. He's a big underdog. And I'll talk about Tuivasa first because I want to. He's plus 185. He's a really dangerous striker. It's not like the striking is falling apart. He still drops Cyril Gane. Yeah, Pavlovich ran him over, but it's Pavlovich. He lost to Tybura last time. He did a lot of damage on the feet. He lost to Volkov by submission. Volkov is really good. Jairzinho Rozenstruik is a decent kickboxer, but he's not that good, man. I don't know. I'm not a big Jairzinho believer. You guys know I'm not a big Jairzinho believer. He's got power, for sure. He's got a decent jab. He's calculated. But his chin has been touched. And Tuivasa's an athlete. Even as fat as he is, he's athletic. He's fast. He's got big knockout power. And he's got quickness. And I'm telling you, in Australia, come on. There is going to be a shoey. Tuivasa's taking home a highlight reel knockout. It's not going to be 5 losses in a row. This is a good matchup for Tai. This is a striking affair. And even if Rozenstruik is having success, Tai Tuivasa has the touch of death. And I think Tuivasa is putting Rozenstruik unconscious. We're going Tuivasa via knockout. Plus 185 down the center. Knockout upwards of plus 225, plus 250 range. I don't think this fight starts round 3. That is minus 325. I also like that call, to be fair with you guys. Probably, under 1.5 is likely at -200, but I prefer fight doesn't start round 3 as opposed to the under 1.5 rounds, as it could get into the later stage of the second, even though I expect violence for sure. Tuivasa, underdog. I'm feeling good about it. Tuivasa, if you guys are OGs, you remember my Shui days. Shout out to Tai Tuivasa, the king of the Shui. DDP versus Izzy. Listen, DDP is an underdog pick. -110 now. Actually, the lines have come a lot closer. Initially, he was a bigger dog. I just think that DDP has the pace and pressure to give Adesanya a lot of trouble. I think DDP can mix in some takedowns, and he's definitely going to have a strong wrestling edge here over Izzy. As good as Izzy's striking is, DDP also has a good striking game. It's not as pretty, it's not as slick, it's not as smooth, and it's definitely not as precise, but it is effective. And DDP in your face for 5 rounds with the gas tank that he has and the threat of takedowns in the fight, I think Adesanya gets drowned by the pressure, and I'm going DDP to take home a decision. Bet at your own risk on this one, especially at -110 DDP, even money now, but he's been a dog, so he has to be included in the underdog section because I picked him as a dog. Adesanya -110 the other side. I think we're going over a round and a half. That's -350. That's actually pretty likely. It's going over a round and a half. Not interested in the props. DDP decision +400. I'll tell you what I'm interested in. If you're on DDP, you're either going Moneyline and still, or you're going Degen parlay piece using DDP to really add some steam. And we'll talk parlays at the end, and you'll see DDP in a couple of them, and we'll add some steam with it. I'm going Dricus du Plessis to take home the win via decision, though. I think he gets a decision in this one. Hard-fought win over Izzy. I'm going with him. I think that the workhorse is going to be showing out in this matchup, and I think he's taking home the dragon. I think he's slaying the dragon because Izzy is the dragon. He's the Chinese dragon. He's the China man. The Battle of Africa, I'm going with the African champ. I'm going with Dricus du Plessis to take out Izzy Adesanya. I want to look at something real quick. Adesanya by KO +300. I'm just curious what that was. If Adesanya looked like OG as OG gets, somehow gets a knockout in this fight, that'd be insane. I don't think so. DDP sub +600. I'm going DDP decision, but I would stay away from the props. I'll rather just money line it if you're throwing down on this one, or like I said, parlay piece it. Those are my true favorite underdogs on the card, but we're not done just yet. We got to talk Degen Props real quick. This one's going to be quick because one Degen prop that just came to my mind was, what if you threw Santos by submission? As good as her jiu-jitsu is, +650 for sub, she got a chance to submit O'Neal. Degen, women's fight, probably better options to bet on, but I needed something degenerate, and I wanted to mention that one. I think that I dropped a lot of savage props throughout the past 3 segments, so I would rather not go chasing something that, I have to pull out of thin air that might not really exist, trying to find something degenerate to prop. So there is the one. Luana Santos to sub up Casey O'Neal is relatively live, but yeah, I wouldn't throw the house on that one. Bet intelligently. On everything, bet intelligently, but especially that one. I want to jump to the parlay section. Listen. The parlay section has been creme de la creme. The parlay section has been savage mode. Before you screenshot it and just book out of the video, at least let me elaborate on everything here, okay? First things first, the one at the top, Erceg and Jenkins. If both of them don't win, I'd be relatively surprised. -120, safe. I think it's pretty safe. Now, Erceg and Jenkins inside of the distance, if you're like, listen, I need plus money or I'm not playing it, there you go, because Jenkins is going to win inside distance. That's also safe. Erceg, Jenkins, and Gamrot +140. I think there's a good chance it comes through. Safe. Erceg, Jenkins inside distance, and Gamrot also on the safe side +175. I feel like that one's going to end up hitting. Now, I have a nice alternate. I think you always need an alternate. Gamrot and Prates -145. I see both of them winning. Now, if you like Jenkins, Gamrot, and Prates all together, you're like, yo, I don't want to play Erceg. I don't trust your lock. You're fading me? You don't think I'm hitting 5 straight? Okay. -110 for a safe-ish call on those. Now, if you like Jenkins inside of the distance with Gamrot, and you put the under 1.5 in the Tom Nolan, Alex Reyes fight, which seems pretty likely, you got +120. Now, if you're looking for more, you're like, listen, I do trust you with the lock. Erceg, Jenkins, Gamrot, and Prates, plus 210. I think it's live. If you like Erceg, Song, and Jenkins inside of the distance, because you want the value, you want Song in your lineup, you don't want to throw down the big favorites, you got plus 230. Now, if you want Erceg, Jenkins, Gamrot, Prates, and the under 1.5 in the Nolan fight, and you want 3-1, I think it's very live as well. Now, if you're looking for something degenerate, I got 2 Degen calls. Erceg, Tuivasa, and Plessis with the lock, and 2 underdogs, plus 825 Savage Mode. If you keep that, and then you add in Jenkins inside of the distance, now you got big plus money at plus 1,090. But you guys know, and this is why I say don't just screenshot. Don't just screenshot and dip out, because I always create one on the live, okay? I am creating the most degenerate parlay possible for UFC 305 with everything that I feel relatively good about and confident. So we will put Steve Erceg as the first of the legs. We will also put Mateusz Gamrot, Carlos Prates. We'll put Jenkins inside of the distance because, listen, he's finishing Burns. Now, before I add in the big favorite straight down the center of Nolan, I want to add in a little more steam, right? You go Keenan's Song before you do that, and already you're nearly plus 500. Now, if you think that under 1.5 is something you want, now you got plus 636 for all of them together, but that's not where the heat lies. That's not where the savagery comes through. I got more. DDP at the top. Now you got plus 1305 if you have Du Plessis. You add in Bam Bam Tuivasa, you got plus 3,904. That's pretty savage mode. I feel like that's good to go. I don't really know if I want to add any more chaos to that one. I'm probably better off not. The over 1.5 in the Kulabeo Hamosh fight brings you to plus 5,415. All right, that's degen enough. I just wanted to do a quick degen. Now, there is some ways that you can mix and match it. Like, I know some people want to maybe take out Erceg. Maybe you put Song in a parlay with Jenkins inside distance and Gamrot and Prates. I don't think that's a bad idea either. I think you can go, kind of mix and match it a lot. If you see, did I leave it out? Jenkins inside distance. This is the one I meant to add in. Yes. We're going to do it right now. So Jenkins inside of the distance is definitely something to put in with Mateusz Gamrot, with Carlos Prates, and with Steve Erceg. You got plus 250 for that one. I believe I left that one out. Yeah, I got to bring it in because I didn't put the inside distance. I just brought it straight down at plus 210. If you added inside distance, you get 40 more points. So something worth mentioning. Guys, I'm feeling damn good about the parlays, but bet intelligently. Betting MMA is always risky, so do your own research. Even though I've been doing pretty damn well, I still would rather you guys do your own due diligence and study it up a little bit before blindly tailing. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's Best MMA Bets for UFC 305. Smash the hell out of the likes. If you're new, subscribe it up. Thank you guys for consistently supporting and tuning in. And let me know some of your favorite bets in the comments down below. I want to hear from the people. If you got nothing to say in the comments, but you just enjoy the content, W in the chat to boost the algorithm for your boy. Thank you guys for watching. Shama. Good night. Peace out.